And in this exercise, we're really going to be talking about how we think of processing as a sketch pad or a sketching environment. So we're going to develop a simple sketch. And in order to do so, we're going to draw some shapes. So we're going to do a very simple, write a very simple program that draws a diagonal line across our environment. But in order to understand how to do that and work with shapes, we have to understand how processing's coordinate system is. So again, the display window, which is essentially the graphical display of what our program is producing, that's really like a sketch pad, right? And we're going to sketch some shapes on that sketch pad. And the sketch pad is broken down into a grid that's based on pixels, where the origin is in the upper left-hand corner. So processing uses a Cartesian coordinate system where the upper left-hand corner of our display window is 0, 0. Right, so as an example, a sketch with dimensions of 400 by 300 would end with the last position, the pixel, being 399, 299. That's going to be at the lower right-hand corner. Additionally, processing can be understood as a three-dimensional space as opposed to just a two-dimensional space, where Z is in the depth of the screen. And we're not going to focus on that very much today. That's definitely a topic for next week's webinar. But you can access three-dimensional space in processing, which goes kind of out away from the screen towards you in the positive direction. Okay, so we're going to be sketching with shapes. So what are shapes? Shapes are just geometrical elements with properties such as fill and stroke. So if we want to draw a point, right, a point is only defined by x and y coordinates. So again, if we're at the upper left-hand corner of the display window, as we move away to the right, we're moving in the positive x direction, and down in the y is a positive y direction. So if we want to point at coordinate 4, 5, we would specify that we want to draw a point with those values as input. Similarly, if we want to draw a line or another more complex shape, such as an ellipse, right, we're going to need more information, right? We're going to need to specify the start and the end of the line. So in that way, again, in this coordinate system, a line from position A or point A to point B is going to require 4 inputs, which would be 1, 2 and 5, 2. So we'd be drawing a line across the pixel grid in this direction. So because shapes have fill and stroke, just like they would if we were drawing in Illustrator, we want to be comfortable with using colors to define how those fill and stroke properties should be defined. And there are a number of different ways that we can specify a color in terms of the format. We can use grayscale, RGB, HSV, and each one of these actually we can use alpha channels as well to specify how transparent or opaque the fill or stroke should be. So as a refresher on color, grayscale is going to be defined between 0 and 255, where 0 is black and 255 is white. And whenever we're specifying a stroke or a fill, whatever object we're drawing or shape we're drawing, such as a line or a rectangle, we need, in our programming minds, remember that the stroke and fill definitions need to happen before we say to draw the line. So a kind of analogy would be, here's the colored paper I'm using. It's a kind of medium gray at 150. I'm going to grab my black pen, so stroke 0, and I'm going to draw a line from 0, 0 to 100, 100. Similarly, when I'm going to draw a rectangle next, I want to grab my white pen, and I will not fill it in, and I'll draw my rectangle from this point to this point. So that's grayscale. And we said that there are other ways to define color, right? And you can use any of these, whichever is most comfortable, most suitable for what the program is you're developing. So RGB, right, is a combination of red, green, and blue that allows us to create all the colors based on those inputs. We could also think about hue, saturation, and value or brightness as a way to use a radial definition of color. So let's go ahead and use our knowledge on color and draw a line that is diagonal through our sketch pad. All right, so go ahead and bounce back over to processing. All right, and this is going to be our sketching file. So I'm going to go ahead and do File New. Close this one because we don't need it anymore.